We'll get started, 6:30. So thanks for coming, everyone. I'm John Hennessy. I'm the volunteer chairperson of the town's River District Redevelopment Commission, and I am, as quickly as possible, going to turn this meeting over to Colin, our engineer. But just wanted to say thanks for coming, and primarily we're here to answer the questions you have and give you as much information as we think that you're interested in at this point. And most importantly, to talk about how we will continue to communicate going forward, because I'm sure that you're all very interested in constant communication about what's going on with the neighborhood that you guys live and work in. So just a quick overview of how we got to this construction project. The town has been working for about 5 years on trying to reconstruct mostly the underground infrastructure along Saranac and Ammonoosuc streets, as well as some other areas along the riverfront here in downtown. And the goal was to do it with as little taxpayer impact as possible. And so that took some time to get the funding. We actually applied for, it's a $2 million project to do the full project, which we are about to start on. And that's coming in at only a 25% cost to the taxpayers of Littleton. The rest has been acquired through other funding programs that are available through the state and the federal government. And the final piece of that was $1 million that on the town's second attempt was acquired back in 2016. Since that time, the town has been working hard on meeting all the requirements to maintain that funding and then use it for construction. And just last month was the final piece was put in place and final approval was received from the federal government to move forward with the project. So that's what we've been doing. Many of you have heard about this project for a long time. That's what was transpiring up until this point. And as these projects often go, I'm told, well, now we had to wait for a long time and now it's hurry up, we're ready to go with construction. And so it's going to happen this summer and through this construction season. And Colin's here to tell you all about the project, what the scope is, how the communication will work, and to find out from everyone here what your concerns are and how you'd like to be kept informed about what's going on so that we can help work that into the plan as we move forward. So I'd like to introduce Colin Dinsmore from HEB Engineers. HEB is leading the project and will be selecting a contractor to complete it. And I'll turn it over to Colin.
Great, thanks John. So as John said, my name is Colin Dinsmore. I'm an engineer with HEB Engineers based out of North Conway. We've been working on this design for well over a year now. Many of you may have remembered we actually came in and met with a lot of you folks probably about a year ago now, just to give you kind of an update on the project and explain sort of the general scope. Not a lot has changed since then, except the biggest thing was last year we were anticipating splitting the project up into 2 construction seasons. So the idea last year would be we would start in the summer, have a winter shutdown, and then complete the project this summer. Because of some of the requirements, getting easements and various other things, delayed the project, so now we're going to do it all this season, which may actually work out to be a benefit. We may actually have gotten some better pricing based on this new construction schedule. So we just actually had the bid opening today, and we got we got 2 bidders, and one of them looks like should be able to work with the town's budgeted amount. So we're optimistic that the project will be going forward to construction. Right now, the schedule for construction is to begin approximately the end of May and be wrapped up, substantial completion around the middle of November. So it'll be essentially the whole summer long. There will be a fair amount of disturbance on the 2 streets that we're looking at. So it's something that we're going to have to ask the town and everybody to sort of bear with us. The analogy is you have to break a few eggs to make a cake. So it'll be one summer of some inconvenience, but then we'll have new infrastructure, new roads, utilities, new sidewalks. It'll be a really great project for the town. So I just wanted to take just a few quick minutes and just kind of give you all a brief summary of what the scope of the project entails. Is this really hard to see, or is that just me? So I don't know, maybe Google Earth might actually be a little bit better. That's still pretty grainy though. Well, so this is
I wonder if we turn out the center light. Is that what it is?
No, it's not gonna help.
Does that help?
That's all.
A little bit, yeah. So here's Saranac Street, and this is the intersection with Ammonoosuc Street down here. You know what? This just doesn't really work very well. Anybody know if there's Wi-Fi in this building?
Yes, there is.
Paul, you need a Wi-Fi password for you?
Yeah. Does somebody have one?
I will get it.
Okay, that might be the problem. Is that it's green if it doesn't connect to the internet. So essentially, while we're working on that, the project includes full reconstruction of about 1,000 feet on Saranac Street. So it'll start right at the Tannery building, and it'll extend eastward. And it'll kind of wrap around the intersection with Ammonoosuc, and it'll head up the hill towards Main Street just a little bit. So that's the extent on Saranac Street. And then Ammonoosuc Street will begin at the intersection with Saranac and go all the way likely to Mill Street.
Eddie Davis.
Eddie Davis?
Don't tell anybody.
One word.
Does she spell her name B-E-T-T-E?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
B-E-T-T-E.
What about Capster?
TTE. Let's see if this works.
Did it work?
So
Is it correct? Try again. Try it with a Y.
You said it was posted in the room.
Alright, bear with us, folks. Sorry about this.
Capital B, capital D,
Sorry, was it?
D-E-T-T-E, capital B.
And capital D?
Well, I did have a sign on here.
There we go. Got it?
Yeah.
Let's sing happy.
Thank you.
I don't know what the sign is.
There it is. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Okay, so kind of going back. So here's the Tannery building. The project will start reconstruction of Saranac about this location, and will extend all the way down, and Saranac reconstruction will end at approximately this location. So Ammonoosuc Street will pick up here at the intersection of Saranac, and will come all the way down to Mill Street. And one of the big components of this project is to reconfigure Ammonoosuc as it goes down behind the Bank of New Hampshire building. I'm sure you're all aware that's just a horrible nightmare of an intersection. So the plan, and hopefully this may still not work very well, but
I brought a full set with me if you want to do something on the
Okay.
table as well.
yeah, I don't know why this isn't working too well, but anyways, the plan is to basically take this stretch of Ammonoosuc and continue it straight across. So it'll function more of as a nice through street almost. So we'll reconfigure the bank's parking. We met with the bank, they've been great to work with. They're very excited about this, as are we. So that's sort of the general limits of the project. The individual components, real quick. Basically, we're going to be installing a brand new sewer collection system and a brand new stormwater collection system. So currently out there, the sewer pipes are very old, dating back to, I believe, the 50s. And there's a lot of combined sewer and stormwater drains. So essentially, you have surface catch basins that are tied into the sewer system. So every time it rains, those sewer pipes experience a surcharge of rainwater, which doesn't need to be treated to the level of the sanitary sewer. So this is it's one step in the process of eliminating those two systems. So that's good. We'll continue the same new stormwater and sanitary sewers all the way through Amanusic, and we are including 2 spots to provide stormwater treatment. One of them is right in front of the Tannery building. We've designed a bioretention rain garden system which collects stormwater, treats it with some special media and plantings, and then stormwater is collected and routed out to the river. There's another bioretention rain garden designed kind of behind where the bank's parking lot is now. So that'll function the same way. It'll collect stormwater, it'll treat it, and then it'll get discharged to the river. So really that's basically the extent of the roadway reconstruction, utility reconstruction. I didn't mention sidewalks, but we are going to be installing a nice new 8-foot wide sidewalk along Saranac. It's a wider than a typical 5-foot sidewalk with the idea that it's more of a shared use path. So it can accommodate other users, perhaps bicyclists and pedestrians. We did incorporate, I believe, about 8 on-street parking spaces on Saranac. I know there's a little bit of a parking crunch down there with the shops at the Tannery building, so we did incorporate a little bit more parking down in that area to just help out just a little bit. And then up by the Bank of New Hampshire area, there's really no net change in parking spaces up there. It'll be the exact same amount of spaces that's there today. In our dealings with the bank, those spaces will be signed for bank use only during the day. I believe it's similar, it's signed kind of like that today. But they've agreed, after hours that it could be opened up to public parking. So it's a nice benefit for the town. That's essentially the kind of the scope and the limits of the project. Does anybody have any specific questions on any of that so far?
Where is the 8-foot sidewalk going?
The 8-foot sidewalk will be along Saranac Street.
Where on Saranac?
It'll be on the Tannery side.
Do you have enough room to do that?
It's challenging, and that's why we
It'll be separate from the road. It'll be just.
In some places, there will be a 4-foot grass strip that separates the road and the sidewalk. In other places, the sidewalk will be right at the back of the curb.
And that'll be all the way from Meadow Street up through?
That'll be from where the project starts, which is about a little bit to the west of the Tannery building. So it'll essentially start there, and it will continue to the intersection of Saranac and Amanusic. There's an existing sidewalk that comes down the steep hill of this section of Saranac, and we'll tie into that existing sidewalk.
But not with 8 feet.
Not with 8 feet. That transitions back down to the existing width, I believe, is 5 feet. So carrying on with the sidewalks, this stretch of Amanuset, as I'm sure you all know, is very narrow. We were constrained with a very narrow right-of-way in there, so there wasn't a lot of room to get 2 lanes of traffic and a separate sidewalk. So what we ended up with was, it's a concept called a living street. So it basically incorporates pedestrian and vehicular travel on the roadway at the same time. And to accommodate this, we have a 5-foot wide flush concrete surface on one side, it'll be on the south side of Amanuset Street. So essentially what that means is you've got the roadway where most of it will be asphalt, and then there'll be a 5-foot wide concrete strip that runs along the edge of the road. And so that'll sort of tell pedestrians, hey, this is where you want to be on this side. And it also tells cars, hey, there's something going on here. It's not just asphalt from curb to curb. So it's a concept that's it's very common around Europe, and it's just starting to become more popular here in the U.S.
Does some signage go along with that?
I don't believe there is any signage specifically for that, but that might be something that we should probably consider adding.
Even if it's painted on the sidewalk.
Oh, full sign.
Yeah.
So the road there
Shared-
will basically be the same width, and it will still be 2A.
Right, the road will actually be a little bit narrower. It'll be, I believe it's 22 feet wide, whereas Saranac Street will be 24 feet wide. So there's just not enough room to get it any wider than that.
So Amanuset Street will be slightly narrower than it is now?
It'll be essentially the same width that it is now.
That's what I had asked.
Right, oh, sorry, yeah. It'll be the same width that it is now.
Yeah.
It will be slightly narrower than Saranac Street.
And it will still be 2-way traffic?
Yes, so it'll be
Okay.
2-way traffic. Yes.
So, Colin, look at the plan, it goes from 32 feet wide in one spot and then it funnels down. So that's a traffic calming measure, changing the width gradually like that with some signs and there's a lot of treescape, landscaping there as well. So it's gonna slow you down and funnel you right in there very nicely.
Yeah.
Doesn't just go right to 22 feet, it's a gradual narrowing.
Where are they gonna plow the snow to? The street is narrower than it's gonna be now.
Well, it'll be the same width that it is now.
But I thought the whole point was to widen the street out, so they always complain it's too narrow.
Well, unfortunately, in this section of Amanuset Street, there's just not enough room. There's buildings right up to the right-of-way on each side, so we can't widen the road out any further than it is now.
No, I meant Saranac Street itself.
Oh, Saranac Street. Saranac Street is getting a little bit wider.
Oh, I thought I misunderstood you. I thought you said it was gonna be narrower than it was. Okay.
Well, there's sections where it's a little bit wider, and then there's sections where we have bump outs that sort of narrow it down. So it's a traffic calming measure that helps reduce vehicular speeds there.
Some of the money that you use, right, to fix Saranac over there is gonna be eventually you use like that money to fix in front of the Tannery, to fix the parking lot over the bank, right? Do these two entities, do they contribute a little bit, money-wise? Because right now, the bank is a mess, that. Also, the Tannery is a mess, that. We taxpayer, we gotta pay for these two entities to fix them up or something like that. But
But the town gains a better roadway. The town gains a roadway through there.
Oh, you mean?
Rudy, we're actually, correct me if I'm wrong, the easements on, Colin, we're receiving some land from the Tannery.
Yes.
Oh,
we're not-
Yes, the Tannery
Yeah,
Marketplace
we're
gave
not
an easement
fixing
to the
theirs,
town.
they're giving.
I don't know, that it wasn't on the
work.
paper, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've got some easements
Just ask
there
the
that make
question.
this work. And up and down the street, there's a lot of easements that we've obtained to make this all work just right.
And it's the same thing with the bank,
Yeah.
you know, all the work, the heavy duty work that you gotta do in a parking lot is paid by the taxpayer, or the bank is gonna contribute?
The bank won't contribute any financial, any money to the project. What the bank is doing, so it doesn't really, it's not that obvious, but this is all bank property
Yes.
right here. So in order to be able to construct these improvements and essentially create a road through there, we got permission from the bank to do that, which was, if we couldn't have gotten that, then, the project probably wouldn't have happened, so.
That's something that they say, one answer washes the other one, right?
We can say that.
Okay, thank you.
So the bio retention rain gardens for
Yep.
stormwater, how do those work in winters? Do I would think they freeze up and the water
in
don't
the-
get down through?
In the wintertime, they don't really do much. So the way that it works is stormwater will flow along the curb, and then there's specialized inlets in the curb where the stormwater will flow and get into the bioretention system, which is behind the curb. In the wintertime, chances are those inlets will probably be plugged up with snow and frozen over. So we actually have catch basin overflows that are located right next to those curb inlets that will then take over the function of collecting and getting the stormwater off the roadway. So those treatment systems really only function during non-winter times.
I can show you the detail later on here if you want to see it. I have it.
They work very well.
Yeah.
There's hundreds, maybe thousands of them installed on the state.
So the question was raised, where will the snow be plowed to?
I imagine it'd probably be a similar, kind of mechanism for snow removal now, with the added benefit that there is a 4-foot grass strip in between the road and the sidewalk that could accommodate some snow, at least on a temporary basis until it gets removed. But
Carol, it can't get any harder to plow than it is now.
Okay.
That's for sure. There's gonna be some snow removal issues here and there that we'll take care of like we always do, but this is definitely gonna be easier to maintain than it is now for winter services. Bump outs included.
Where is the project going to start? Is it Tannery and work down, or down the other end work?
yeah, it'll start.
Tannery and work down.
It'll start at the Tannery.
And then work down.
Yep, and that's typically driven by the underground utilities going in. You usually start at the lower end and then work your way up. So they'll likely start down here.
Will we be without utilities for any period of time?
It shouldn't be. The contractor, they're required to make sure there's no interruption in services. They're required to maintain at least one lane of travel through the section during the day, and then they're required to open it back up to two-way traffic when they're done working for the day. With that said, there may be instances where they might have to temporarily close the road if they have to make a connection across the road, but they're going to do that in the most expeditious manner and get that road opened back up. And all that information, anything that might require closure of road or temporary service disconnects, will be communicated to the town and any affected abutters and neighbors. We need to balance between making sure that all the public and the butters and neighbors can still get to their homes, can still have utilities, and also allow the contractors, efficient ways to complete the work. So there's a balance there, and one of the best ways to achieve that balance, as John mentioned, is communication. And so as we get into projects like this, we've refined the communication process to communicate construction updates to the town and the public, basically. And so we haven't finalized it yet. Once we get a contractor on board, we'll finalize the process specific to this project in the town. But typically what will happen is we'll meet with the contractor, and we'll have a meeting with the contractor, the town, all the various utilities and stakeholders, and sort of plan out the next 2 weeks or a month of construction. And based on that plan, we'll then figure out a communication protocol to convey that information back to all of you and to the town. Just to try to give everybody a heads up, okay, the next 2 weeks, this is what you can expect. As far as traffic, detours, any kind of interruptions like that. We'll also provide updates in construction to give everybody an idea of what's been built so far, any big milestones that have been hit, or any big milestones that are coming up. So really, it's all about open communication and just trying to get as much information out to the public as possible. Some avenues that we've used in the past are providing updates on the town's website or Facebook pages. But obviously want to hear from you folks to see what you might like to have as far as communication methods. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or ideas of what might work particularly well here in Littleton.
I'm just trying to figure out how you're gonna add, on the riverside of Saranac Street, then where the street is now, you're gonna have a 4-foot wide strip of grass and an 8-foot sidewalk. That's 12 feet from the existing road outlet towards the river. How are you gonna do that?
We've obtained easements from all the landowners on that side. Everyone's been in favor of the project and realizes that a sidewalk, improvements to the road will be a huge benefit to everybody.
Okay, I just don't see how the people are gonna get access that live in the trailer and that gray house is just beyond that. They're almost on the road now. How are you gonna put a sidewalk? Yes, 12 feet.
The 4-foot wide grass strip will end right around where the pedestrian bridge is, because it does get tight in there. So in there, the 8-foot sidewalk will be connected to the back of the curb. And that'll continue up to the intersection of Van Music Street. And then from there, it's the 5-foot kind of flush concrete sidewalk through this tight section of Van Music. And then we're going to be installing just a regular 5-foot wide sidewalk to connect into the existing sidewalk that's out by the parking area that was reconstructed not too long ago. It was a challenge to design. So any other thoughts, questions, any ideas about communication protocols? Someone mentioned email. I know John has an email list, I think.
Yeah, so if you receive the email for this meeting, then you're on the email list that we'll communicate out with again, and make sure that you want to continue to get updates for this project. If you don't, then you can certainly get off it. We don't want to bombard anyone with email that doesn't want to hear the updates, but that will be one of the primary communication methods we'll use. It may not be the one for regular weekly updates, but we could make it that if you're all interested in it. So what I will say is if you didn't receive that email, we don't have it, so I'll pass around this notepad and feel free to put yours on here and I'll add it to the list. We'll
What
give you
about
the
those
option.
that still have snail mail?
So once we kind of develop that communication plan, it'll likely be a 1 or maybe a 2-page bulletin update. Perhaps we could leave a stack of copies at the town office. So if folks wanted to just stop by the town office, they could pick up a construction update and kind of a schedule.
Colin and John, I was going to say for the chamber office as well, that we'd be absolutely willing to do that, kind of keep a notebook so folks could access that.
Yeah, that'd be a huge help.
Carol, would help if the senior center was looped in, and we could have a posting at the senior center for some of the folks down there that use the pedestrian bridge and the walkway. That might be helpful for you.
I would think so.
Yeah.
JL2, public access TV.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Channel 2, and then you can reach out to the senior center. And I've recruited a couple of college students to help with some of this email and Facebook posts and things like that. Colin and I talked a little bit earlier today, but I'll have something for John in the next couple of weeks, next week. Oh, God. We also, we walked the job today, Colin and I did. Some were asking where we're gonna start, and we're gonna stop it up. Colin and I painted right out on the road. If you wanna walk the job, you'll see project start, project limits. There's a mark just past the tannery. There's marks delineating the scope of the project, the limits of the work. So if you feel like you wanna walk it, you'll see clear painting on the road, white paint. Thought that might be helpful.
So the other end of Saranac Street will be a different project? Where you want to realign the road down there?
Yeah, I think it was realized that this would be a project in and of itself. So that was taken out of this project, and that'll be a future phase. I guess some of the other kind of finer points, once all the work is constructed, it will include a lot of nice amenities. We've got a great selection of street trees through the corridor, lighting, brand new lighting that will match the new lights that were installed over on the kind of the Mill Street side of Amanuensis Street. We're looking at creating a little pocket park. So right now there's a couple park-like features down around the bank parking lot. We'll add some more picnic benches, bike racks, water fountain, some trash and recycling receptacles. So it'll turn out to be a nice little space.
Will it be paved this year?
The paved?
Will it be paved, the road paved this year?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I know November's getting pretty late to pave, and
Yeah, so it should be completely paved by the end of the year.
Can you speak a little bit maybe to any parking disruption on the, I guess is that the eastern side there?
Yeah, so I know this is a very popular parking area. So right now the plan of work is to basically dig up all the asphalt in here, replace all the sub-base and put down new pavement. So to do that, it will require temporary closure of parking spaces. So we will work with the selected contractor to minimize the amount of parking closure at one time. That's going to be one of those fine points to balance, is how much parking is acceptable to close at one time. And obviously, we wouldn't allow them to close this whole area, so we need to allow them, to close a small portion at a time so they can get in there and do their work and then keep moving. So I would expect to see some temporary parking closures in there, but just know that we're going to work as hard as we can to minimize that disruption and the parking issues there.
From May to November, what would be some key milestones, ballpark-wise, on progress? Non-binding. Ballpark.
Well, I think the utility installations are, at least to me, a civil engineer, those are big. Not many people really sees what goes on underneath the pavement, but the utility connections are going to be big. All the residences that are adjacent to this road will get new sewer service connections up to the right of way. So the contractor is going to have to locate everyone's sewer service and tie it in. So that'll be a fairly good milestone right there. And then after that, it's really just kind of installation of sidewalks, installation of paving, and then the final touches, landscaping, lighting, things like that. So, as far as the dates and the schedule goes, it's too early to kind of really have a good idea of that. Once the contractor's fully on board, we'll work with developing a a detailed schedule. It's really going to be the contractor's responsibility to develop that. We got to let the contractor build it how they want to build it, within reasons.
What's the contingency if November doesn't happen?
Then we have to look at why it didn't happen.
Sure.
If it's, we do have built into the contract what's called liquidated damages, so the town could assess a penalty on the contractor if they haven't completed the project, on time. There could be circumstances where it's, not the fault of the contractor, and those will have to be assessed on a case-by-case basis.
Colin, are you comfortable naming the contractor?
Not at this point. We still have to, do our due diligence and make sure that the contractor is, fully qualified. So.
Do you been working very hard to try to find a contractor from this area over here?
I know a lot of local subcontractors were bidding on this project, so I imagine there's a fair amount of subcontractors that will work on this project.
This comes first, right? Before the guy next door, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, I can ask you another thing. Do anybody can call you engineering firm if they have any question? They can call you guys directly,
Yeah.
or they gotta go through this guys?
We'd be happy to take those calls, and I have a stack of my business cards
Yeah.
here, so before you leave, feel free to grab a business card. My email, my cell phone's on there, so if anybody has issues or questions, feel free to call me, email me.
You could have an on-site person too.
Yep, and we'll have an on-site engineer daily who will be overseeing the whole project. It won't be myself, but one of our guys is he's a great construction manager, so he'll be on site and he'll be a good resource to kind of talk to if people have issues.
Rudy, I said it before at some meetings, did I scare you?
You scared me? You're in the two of those.
Okay, call, HEB's done a lot of work on the river district, on the river walk and the bridge over there. They're not any strangers to working in Littleton, so we're happy that they're doing the job, and that most of the bidders most of the guys that bid the job were all local guys who they were comfortable with. It's a high level of comfort, Public Works, working with HEB and then the contractors that are in the running.
Definitely. My question to the gentleman was just if somebody's got any question, do they can call me directly? That's all I asked them.
Yeah, so it's good.
All right, what other questions do people have? Any concerns, comments?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's been a long trip.
It has. Folks in our office have been involved all the way back at the visioning charrettes. And this was just kind of hatching as an idea. So we take a lot of pride in seeing this through to construction. So it's going to be a great project for everybody involved.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And we'll send the next communication out probably once we get more detail from the contracting firm, and we'll explain where you can get more information.